Hungary, Theatre of War. Part 6. Fortress Budapest. From the east in November 1944, and then from the west at the end of December, the Red Army outflanked the capital, which was the largest and most densely populated city in the Carpathian Basin. Pest was protected by the Attila line of 3 defensive rings, but the Germans had not reckoned with a complete encirclement, so they had not built defensive works on the Buda side. The forces at the start of the siege were roughly equal, not counting the artillery. The defensive artillery was composed of anti-aircraft guns, which were also effective against ground targets, but the state-of-the-art anti-tank guns had also been relocated from the Arpad line. At the end of December, the Soviet troops unsuccessfully tried to capture Buda from the west. Then, in January, all of their forces in Transdanubia were engaged in preventing the relief attempts. In Pest, the Soviet and Romanian troops advancing along the arterial avenues tried to break up the defenders' front line and destroy the smaller groups. The siege of Budapest was a fight of small groups, with mass assaults only occasionally taking place. The attacking assault groups consisted of assault squads of sappers and riflemen to eliminate obstacles, the artillery and snipers that covered them, and the reserves. Instead of a coherent front, the defenders guarded strongholds established from buildings with small subunits. Firing positions were set up inside buildings with interlocking fire. When facing a breakthrough, they initiated counterattacks with their armour. The fight raged on the streets, in the buildings and in the cellars. The castle area and the city centre suffered the greatest damage. More than 70% of the houses there were damaged or destroyed. The Soviets captured the Pest side in heavy fighting on the 18th of January. Meanwhile, they tried to destroy the Danube bridges to prevent the defenders from crossing to Buda. In the end, the retreating Germans blew up the crossings that were still standing. The Soviet Air Force dominated the skies over the capital, and their ground attack aircraft continuously bombarded ground targets.
Panzergranate laden! Ziel von außen nach 150 Metern! Feuer frei! Gleiches Ziel! Feuer! Russischer Flieger! Einzelner Gustav!
The activities of the German-Hungarian aircraft were virtually restricted to air supply, but they could only provide half of daily requirements, and after the loss of suitable landing areas, just a fraction of this. At the beginning of February, the supply situation became catastrophic, with the only remaining food being horse meat. On the evening of the 11th of February, contrary to Hitler's orders, part of the defenders who'd been pushed back to the castle, Gellert Hill and Knopheg, carried out a breakout attempt, but barely 800 men reached the German front. Two days later, the Soviets captured Buda. At the start of 1945, the Red Army's advance had stalled for 3 months. It was less the siege of Budapest than the counterattacks by the Germans in Transdanubia and Upper Hungary that played a decisive role in this, bleeding the Soviets dry and enabling the Germans to prepare their last major offensive of the war.